All right, I'm here tonight to help motivate you, like myself, to become physically fit. Seriously. I'm Jay Schlum, former mayor of the town I've called home for almost 40 years now. Right here, this town, Fountain Hills, Arizona, the greatest town in the world. Now, seriously, we do have some problems, not just here in Arizona, but around the country, maybe around the world. We have a problem with engagement. People are just not plugging in to things that they need to be plugged into to help one another. The issue is significant. There are many doing connectivity through devices, through social media, through chats, but we need our engagement one-on-one. Now, about being mayor, people always ask me, wasn't that a real pain? People complaining all the time? And I'm honest, and I tell them it was the greatest thing in the world. I absolutely loved being mayor. There's just a few places probably in people's life where you can actually be a part of people's lives where tough things are happening and just glorious things are happening, and I get to be right there with them. And that's that engagement that I think I really treasure greatly, and I would like to encourage more people to be more engaged. Over time, when I grew up in Michigan, my mother is here. I remember being a kid running through yards, running with our neighbors, and everybody knew one another. I think that's changed a little bit. Even the way things are designed today, we've got these great homes. We have a lot more fences. We have our homes now are becoming great rooms where they're all open, but yet outside we're kind of closing things off. We've got people now that'll be going home. They'll hit their garage door opener. You never see them. You know, that's happening, and that's a loss. Here in Fountain Hills, it's a small town. We don't have as much of that challenge, but there's still people that are not as engaged, and their lives are certainly not as enriched. Not those that they aren't touching, but their lives themselves through that connection, through that engagement with their neighbors, with their community. In part, it's the digital thing. You know, it's not that we're not connected. We are completely digitally tethered to one another right now, even as we sit here. You know, we've got everything that keeps us connected, but yet the richness of that analog connection, one-on-one, is lacking here in this town as well, but certainly in other parts of the country. Why should we be connected? Well, I've seen it firsthand. Being mayor, you get to be, as I said, where things are tough, but most of the time here in Fountain Hills, things are glorious. You really get to be together. You might be at a 103-year-old's birthday party. You get to celebrate that with family, and that's such a tremendous thing to be a part of. You get to be there when people are having a rough time. You get there to be in home-delivered meals here in Fountain Hills, where you're volunteering to bring meals to people that are either can't get out of their homes or certainly you don't see many people, and you get to be a part of that. There's so many opportunities. It's just a wonderful thing to be engaged in your community. A couple of stories about engagement that I wasn't directly involved in, but our community was. We had freeways being built on the 101 and the 202, as you all know here, nearby freeways. And we had people that said, hey, why aren't we having signs point to Fountain Hills? So these are individuals, volunteers in our community. One's an engineer, another person is also interested in transportation. They knew people. Now we have signs on these freeways pointing people to our town. Those folks were engaged. They stepped up. They played a role. They're benefiting people they don't even know. Businesses, hotels, restaurants, the community here. Fountain Hills is on the map because of folks that are engaged in the community. There's folks that put together gatherings when people are hurt. There's people that picket in support of others here in this community because they chose to come out and look out for one another here in Fountain Hills. It's just a tremendous place. There's the digital element here that gets in our way sometimes. We think we're connected. Social media, texting. We've got remote controls for our television, so we're on demand all the time. I've got another remote control from somewhere here, you know. We've got our mouse, you know. We don't need to talk to anybody these days. It's pretty cool. And they're tools that you can use to actually help with the real engagement, the analog engagement that is actually still available if you hadn't seen it in stores lately. These need to go. We've got our phones on us all the time. These need, well, let me just use this real quick. Okay, yeah, these are just distractions that we need to move past. These are tools. But I tell you, I feel guilty sometimes. Maybe some of you do too. I feel that engagement that I've learned mostly from my parents and the mentors I grew up with, Mayor Wally, I feel guilty that I'm so engaged because it really enriches my life. I think way far more than the people I get to be around, even if I'm doing my Chippendales act, you know. Engagement is amazing, and I'm part of a social organization called Rotary, and I encourage everybody to be in an organization such as that. But that group, we go out and do amazing things, not just in this country, but down in Hermosillo, Mexico, working on an orphanage. And do you know how much joy you get out from helping others that you don't even know? It's astonishing. So there, and in Fountain Hills and in the communities where I've been, it's hard not to invite more people to be engaged in things that get them to help other people. And it's a real gift. We are so busy and so connected digitally that sometimes we don't step out and realize the enriched lives that you can have by being engaged with others. So I just really would like to encourage you to consider areas that you are interested in. Those that are not engaged are not as enriched, but there are also people out there that need them, that need you. So if you don't do it for yourself, maybe you do it for others. But you'll soon find that you may, like me, you can't stop being engaged because it's just so darn loving and rich. I mentioned Mayor Wally. There are a couple things that were challenges with being mayor. He told me a story about one. We had a trash issue in Fountain Hills, so this came up. He had told me a story about 4 a.m. he received a phone call. A woman was upset that the trash truck came really early in the morning and woke her up. So she called the mayor. The mayor was very nice, said, "I'll take care of it and I'll get back with you." The following day at 4 a.m, he called back and took care with high level of customer service. So it's a great job. You can't all be mayor, but you can all be engaged, and you can all have your lives enriched through that engagement in an analog fashion, one-on-one or as a group, to lift up others, to take care of others. And I encourage you, before you leave today, to think about a couple of places where you could get plugged in. And then within the week, consider taking some steps. Here in this community, we even have a volunteer coordinator. You let them know what your interests are, they plug you in. There are needs, and you will be enriched by being involved in that. And this whole conference is about community. And there are so many cool people right now, and there's so many examples I could bring up, but I'll talk about my wife. She's engaged. Denise, if somebody moves into the neighborhood, what does Denise do? It's the little things. She brings over cookies. She brings over things. This is the beauty of engagement. It doesn't take a lot, and I'm sure she gets a lot out of meeting these people and figuring out where are you from, and all this sort of thing. But I've heard so many stories about how thankful people were, and they were so surprised by just that little action. And then there's my son Tim here. He put out he uses social media as well. I really am proud of him and his heart for others. There's a new kid that just came into town from out of the country. He got to know him, and he put out on his social media network to ask his former high school to get engaged with this student. He's really cool, make him feel welcome. So there's tools that you can use through social media to do tremendous things. I mentioned my mother. She probably is a big reason I am also in love with community engagement and volunteering. My mother, she retired from Mayo Clinic, and she joins the Peace Corps and goes to Tonga for 2 years. So, she's tremendous as well. So I'm a serial volunteer, but it's really tremendous, as most of you know. We're of like minds here, probably. So I encourage you to think about those one or two things and to take action within the next week. Do something small. Take a couple steps. When you're in the grocery line, make sure you talk to the person that's taking care of you, and then genuinely look at one another and ask how things are going and thank them for taking care of you. Firefighters, police officers, soldiers, like my daughter, she's over in Italy serving in the Air Force. Thank them. Really thank them. We've got certain rights in this country, and these folks help to protect them and keep us safe. So do that. You've got a lot of different options here. I mentioned community service organizations like the Rotary. Look at those. It's really a fun place to go serve with a group of other people doing things that you cannot do by yourself. You make some great things internationally and locally. So please, consider that. Consider getting more engaged. Your lives will be more enriched. And thank you very much.